that? Oh God, I'm gonna die. I gotta get this on camera. No. Hey everybody, welcome to the Marino Show. I'm your host, David Marino, and I have a familiar face with me this time around, actress Ilene Sullivan, who I've interviewed several times on the show, and we're friends. I went to visit her in New Jersey last year, and it was a fun trip. I got to meet Valentine, her dog Valentine, who I love so much, and then of course Ilene, who I love so much, and it was so great to have that connection, to be able to actually see you in your hometown or where you're living, and to go to the art museum and all the things that we did.
Yeah.
But I have been following you, as I always do, on social media. And one of the things that I've seen is an uptick, in the amount of work that you're starting to get heading into, well, now that we are in 2026, there's various projects that you're working on. One of them is related to strange films, as I've talked about many times on my show, and that's related to some other movies. There we go. There's a logo. So tell me about the new film you plan to be shooting sometime this year, and how it relates to some of the other films that are already in the Strange Films universe.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me again. I love it.
You're welcome.
Always fun. And yes, and thank you. Yes, I'm feeling very lucky. This new year has brought a lot of new projects with a lot of new people. So I'm very excited to work with some people who I haven't worked with before. Directors, projects, groups, actors. Some I have, but it's always really an interesting flow to get people hitting you up this time. People are coming to me and asking me to be in their projects, which is very flattering. But I will tell you we'll start with this one from Strange Films, writer Frank Aguilar, director August Aguilar. This film is called Chica La Salvadora, and it is the third installment in the Gifted series. So we had, the first film was The Gifted, the second one was The Gifted Original Sin, and now this is the third installment. This installment follows the character of Chica, which we were introduced to in the second
second film in the series.
Yeah, second film in the series. Thank you. And she is a woman who has certain powers that she uses for good, for positive things. But every time she is asked to use her powers, it takes its toll on her in various physicality. Her hair turns gray. She has welts and scars and skin lesions and so forth. And it just literally eats away at her every time she needs to delve into these sort of psychic type powers. And it deals with her confrontation with the other character, Barbara, who's played by Ginger Lynn Allen, my dear friend. I've worked with Ginger Lynn on several films now. We've developed quite a nice rapport and a wonderful friendship. So this leg of the trilogy is going to showcase Chica from when she was a baby, how she was found by some people. It's going to be supposedly filmed mostly in LA, with a mostly Mexican or Latin cast. Her character itself is not a Latina, but she was brought up by a Latina family. Um, and so we're going to follow her through several stages of her life. And as far as the casting goes, for those of you who I strongly suggest that you watch The Gifted and The Gifted Original Sin, and you will see some returning characters. So the character of the priest, played by Joe Casterline, he will return. I, of course, am returning. Um, I think Ray Bolden may be returning as, and Bruce Tharp may be returning, and the character of Mick. So this will be interesting to see how those characters were formed, prior to, and what led everybody um, to be who they ended up being.
So, Eileen, in addition to doing work with Strange Film Studios, you've also been involved in a number of other projects with other filmmakers, specifically independent films. Can you talk about some of the ones that you're currently working on?
Yeah, I think I could talk about them for as much as I know about them. I just filmed something. It was a parody on the Terrifier movies. It's called The Party Fire, and that's, I think, is going to be hilarious. And that should be out shortly. It's a short, and it'll be out on YouTube. I believe they're going to put it out on YouTube. And that was from Black Ave Films. I have several upcoming projects. Of course, here on the East Coast, the weather has played an impactful part of film delaying. So I don't know when these are going to get rolling, but I do have several projects in the works. I'm excited for them all because I get to play a lot of different characters, which I like, with several different groups and different directors and different casts. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity um, to be able to do that. Although it's really nice when a particular group envelops you in their family and really reaches out to you and says, we want you in our film. There's nothing more heartwarming than that. It's like, I feel the love. I feel the love. They want me. They want me. So that's really nice. So yeah, I have an interesting scene in a film coming up where I play one of the witches from the Salem witch trial. Uh, so that's going to be really interesting. It's called the script is the Demon Board Blood Trap, um, and I play a scene. My character is Bridget Bishop. That's a tongue twister. Um, so I'm looking forward to that. Um, I've done a couple of um, films with the Black Ave group. They're just, they hit the ground running. They're involved in everything. So they do producing and directing and writing, and they're very, very busy bunch of guys. Um, and um, I have a couple coming up with Diane Playton. Um, her film The Forgotten, and Then Came a Rainbow. So I have those two that we're going to be filming shortly in the next few weeks. Um, so those are going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to everything. I really, um, you know, I don't have a particular, I don't like to stay necessarily in a particular genre. So I really like to explore, and I really am grateful for the various characters that are offered for me. So I get a chance to do that because that's really the best part is immersing yourself in the life of somebody else and figuring out where that fits because and there's always pieces of you, in my opinion. There should be always pieces of you that get embedded in those characters, even if they're dark and gruesome, you know.
And I saw some behind the scenes clips on social media of the film you mentioned first, which was Party Fire. Uh, and David Howard Thornton's in that as well, right?
Yeah, and I wish I knew the entire cast, but um, a lot of cameos by a lot of people that I think people are going to recognize. I believe the original Art the Clown may have a cameo appearance in that. I mean, my filming, the day I filmed, it was really just myself and another actor. There's a small, the next day is there was a big party scene where like everybody was there. So I'm really anxious to see that. It was a bunch of kids. There was shenanigans galore. So I think it's going to be really fun.
I'm excited for that one. And I always like watching you in all your films. I've seen several of your films, not just Strange Film Studios, but Bonds of Grief was one of them. The
Thanks.
one that escapes my name, which I really liked because it was a one-woman show with you kill people with the cleaver, and you had the puppet, right, that you were talking
Oh,
to.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's that one called?
It's called Prime Cuts.
Yes.
Prime Cuts, yeah. That was fun. That was with Bill Nobes had written and direct that little short ditty. Um, yeah,
That
I
was one of my favorites, not just because it's kind of in
really
the horror genre. Yeah, I really liked it because I think what I liked about that one is that when I don't know if you remember, there was a film in the 80s called The Telephone. It was Whoopi Goldberg's first film, and the whole film is her on a phone, like a rotary phone, talking to random people, but it was very entertaining. And I think what I liked about your role in that film was that there wasn't a lot of, you didn't have other characters to really bounce off of. You were really having to, act on your own and tell this story, make people feel and kind of tune into your character, but not having anybody else to really support that. I think that to me would be very challenging. So it reminded me of that film. They're completely different genres because The Telephone was kind
right.
of a drama comedy, but I always love those kind of pieces where the actor has to bring everything and really, it's all on them. And I always, I don't know, I think those are the types of roles sometimes that I love to see, because it also reminded me of like theater, like a stage show or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Oh, that's
yeah,
interesting. Yeah, that was good. We had fun with that. We had fun with that. And Bill's wonderful. He's a genius. Yeah, that was a few years ago
yeah,
now.
that was a while back.
Yeah.
So it's probably hard to choose, but you listed a number of films that you're working on. And so out of those films, I'm sure every character, like you said, you like playing because there's a varied, there's a variety that you can
Right, right.
play. But is there one that, stands out for you in terms of maybe something a little different than what you've done before, or just a character that you really could, you know, sink your teeth into, or what is your thought on some of the upcoming projects? Was there one that stood out?
Well, of some of the projects I mentioned, um, I don't. I mean, some of those I haven't even gotten scripts for yet, so I haven't even read the entire story. I'm not, sure what the story entails as far as where I fit in. Um, Obviously, and I probably have said this before, but you know, for me, while being the star of a film is wonderful, and having a major role is wonderful. For me, it's not always about that. I could have, for example, in a couple of these upcoming films, I think I may only have one scene. Um, but I was very intrigued by the demon board blood trap because of the period that involves, and the depth. That's by John Aricchio. Um, the depth of production that he is going to provide for that. I know he has built some of his own torture equipment, for the witches, which, hey, well, I'll do it. So that, that puts me in such a whole different era. Um, I have an accent that I've developed. I have, a costume that I've developed. Um, So really interested in working on that. And like I said, it's one scene, but I was intrigued enough, and enjoyed reading the script, enough that I said yes, that I would do it. Um, so I don't think I turn anything down. Um, and again, it's just about. Um, And even if you get similar roles, for example, in the horror genre, you know, um, and people say, "Well, how many people can you chop up from movie to movie, or knife, or whatever, But each person that's doing that is a little different, I mean, so I try not to make it the same, run of the mill character. I try to explore, what is making that person. Doing these, obviously horrible acts, and what is driving, these different characters. So I try not to make them, just rote run of the mill, dun, 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 kind of thing. And I mean, that's what I love about acting. That's what I love about films. Um, and we've talked before that I started as a stage actress. So um, while I haven't done any stage work, my last show off Broadway was a couple years ago now, and that was an original play called Like Father, Like Son. Um, and, that's still an interest of mine. I just um, I don't get that many, calls for stage work, and film work. Um, there's a lot of pluses, film work. In film work, it's like you film and you're done. Whereas if you're in a play, it could run for, several weekends, and really tie up a lot of your time, and there could be months of rehearsals and so forth. So it is very different in that respect. Um, so yeah, but so right now I'm looking for work, always looking for more work, and I have website, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. Those are really my two socials, and people can follow me and like me, and um, hit me up for work, obviously.
And we've talked about this before too, but I think just the fact that you've been doing this for what, over 20 years, acting and film and on stage, and the fact that you have navigated through that time, which, as you've said before, it comes with ups and downs. And I know that
Mm,
we had talked, because we talk outside of this, we had talked
right, right.
around December, and that was kind of a time where, I have other friends here in Austin that are in the film industry as well. And there really are dry spells where, whether you're in production or you're acting, where it's kind of like, when's the next job coming? Which I think most people don't always think about that. Like those of us who aren't in the acting world, it's sometimes something that doesn't come into your head, because you're just thinking, oh, you see them working, you see the finished product, and you just assume they're always working. But there is a lot of, it's one of those kind of risks. It's like a, what is it? Risk and reward. There's the risk
Yeah.
in it and the reward. So what keeps you coming back or continuing to work through various films and sticking with it? Because I think that's one of the things I always try to get across in my interviews with various people in different parts of whatever they're doing. It's that sort of determination and just grit to keep going, and what has been that for you? What's really kept you moving through even when it wasn't the easiest?
Oh, very good question, David. Um, well, I'm going to tell you, it's not always easy, um, and it's not always that end product like yours that you see. And when the downtime hits, for some people, and myself included, it can be very debilitating mentally. Um, you know, it can leave you with feelings of inadequacies. Why aren't people calling? Why am I not getting work? Why do I see X, Y, and Z, you know, getting work, and I'm not? Why aren't these people hiring me? So it is a very, very touchy business. And just when you feel that you're really sinking and nobody wants you and woe is me, then then, like, for example, this new year came around and I got boom, 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 boom. I got 6 scripts. I have scripts in my room, um, that I got offers for. I have some more work that's pending. So you never know. I just feel like, it's very difficult. It's not easy. Um, I try to put myself out there. I try to be almost borderline annoying, probably, to a lot of people. Where I keep sending them messages. So what are you doing? I see that you're doing something. You should cast me. Cast me. That's going to be on my
Cast me on your
on my tombstone.
tombstone.
Whatever. Cast me.
But that would be the stressful part for me, because you are your product. Most of us go to a job where you work in an office or you're working for another business, and you're not, you work for them, but you're not, I mean, you're not carrying it, right? Like when you're an actor, actress, or in any sort of film work, I mean, you are your own product. So it's like you do have to promote yourself almost to the point of being obnoxious, because otherwise somebody else is going to come along and do the same thing and get a role because maybe they were more persistent. So I feel like you almost, like you would have to be that way in order to be in
Yeah.
the industry.
Unless, um, I don't know if I'm not union, so I don't know if it's different. Um, I know there's a lot of people who are represented by numerous agencies and managers and publicists and so forth. So perhaps, that all can contribute to your success as well. Um, Most of the time I find my work independently, just from social media. And I think that the indie film market is, when you go on Facebook and you see your friends, and everybody's friends with everybody, so it's um, it is a help that the community, is so interconnected like that. Everybody knows everybody, so that can help get you recommendations, or if you've when people post on social media, a lot of, like, behind the scenes and technical people, I'll see postings, does anybody know, in search of a DP or a, makeup, I need special effects. And so, because everybody knows everybody, it is a helpful way to, um, get the word out, and repost and reshare, and hey, and I'm all for, let's everybody help everybody too. If I see postings, I'll share them. I mean, the least you can do is like and share. I mean, there's no skin off your nose, doing that for people. That's a help. Checking out people's IMDb pages, check out their websites. If I that's what I'll do. I'll be like, well, here's my website. which is a lot easier than itemizing. Or, on my website, you can look at a variety of pictures. I have a lot of different looks. I have some snippets of different reels and different commercials, or different, snippets of films that I've been in. So you can get kind of an overview in one shot of at least what I can do. Um, so I'm hoping that helps. Um, but it's just, and it's constant. It is a constant, um, plug, promote, yourself. And sometimes it is exhausting. And I'm not great with technology, so that's a real stumbling block for me when I see auditions, or when I see postings or castings, and then it's like, okay, I got it, I can do this, and then they're like, okay, and now we want you to like send it via this, that, and the other thing, and I'm just like, oh God, I don't know what to do with that.
If you could make films or be an actress in a certain time, would that be now, or is there a certain era, whether it was the 70s, the 80s, the 50s, the 40s, the 60s? Is there an era that you would have loved to have been, acting, or, even talking about right now with technology, and especially since COVID, the whole world does everything like this now, right? Whereas before, there was a lot more in-person interaction in every industry, but especially auditioning, it
Mhm.
wasn't done through a screen. So that kind of made me think of, was there a different time, or is now, do you live in the now and like what we're doing now? Or if you had like a choice, if you could maybe go back in time or something, is there an era that you would have loved to work in film?
That's interesting. I think the now is incredibly helpful, because it does give you the opportunity to be um, noticed. It gives you a more viable platform to audition, instead of, having to travel. If there's something out in California, even worldwide, if there's something that you're auditioning for, that you see that, and it's being done in Europe, or it's being done, across the United States somewhere, you no longer have to physically fly or drive or whatever, to get to that place. So in that respect, the technology end of things is really helpful, um, because I can do those video auditions and send them, wherever, once I find out how to do that, and send them wherever they need to go. So yeah, that's the here and now, and the future. Who knows what's going to happen with the future?